Summary of The Emotional Intelligence Quick Book. Everything you need to know to put your EQ to work. By Travis Bradberry and Jean Greaves. The Emotion-Reason Connection in Your Brain. In 1848, thanks to an unusual, grisly accident that befell a good-natured, popular railroad foreman named Phineas Gage, scientists discovered that specific areas of your brain control how you get along with people. When Gage was laying railroad tracks, his assistant got distracted and didn't take the usual safety measures, thus causing a freak accident and an explosion of gunpowder that blew a heavy, long iron rod through Gage's forehead. Although he survived, the flying rod removed the front portion of his brain, and Gage lost the ability to moderate his temper or impulses. Though he could still do calculations and function in his job, his life changed dramatically for the worse. Now cranky and erratic, he lashed out at the mildest provocation, appeared irrationally unable to get a grip on his emotions and no longer got along well with his co-workers. As science now knows, the ability to manage your emotions requires effective biological wiring between the reasoning and feeling areas of the brain, and Gage had lost that link. People are emotional creatures, so always be mindful of the role emotions play in your behavior and that of others. For example, a medical technician named Lily used her emotional intelligence, EQ, to achieve her goals. Stuck in her biotechnology job, and frustrated by the routine and lack of challenge, she got a new job running a startup drug development laboratory. After a year or so, she felt worn down and again stuck in a rut. She worked up the nerve to ask her busy boss for another position and gave him a detailed report of how the company risked losing large sums of money. As a result, her boss promoted Lily to run the department. She wouldn't have gotten this new job a great fit for her if she hadn't stuck her neck out in a smart, emotionally intelligent way. The book Primal Leadership, by Daniel Goleman, Richard E. Boyatzis, and Anim Key, provides a useful framework for understanding Lily's success. It breaks emotional intelligence down into 4 skills: self-awareness, self-management, social awareness, and relationship management. First, self-awareness put Lily in touch with her job frustrations. Second, she used self-management to deal with those frustrations, approaching her boss and writing a report to make her case. Third, she anticipated the emotional dimensions of her boss' reactions, and stayed alert to changing cues based on what she observed by being socially aware. Fourth, by appealing to her boss and banking on their positive rapport, she managed relationships effectively. By staying true to her feelings, doing her homework and trusting in her relationship with her boss, Lily succeeded. It's an epidemic. Though they may be able to hold jobs, most people lack adequate self-awareness and are overwhelmed by daily stress. Only 1/3 of 500,000 people tested said they could accurately identify their emotions as they happen. Many people let daily frustrations mar their judgment and affect their choices. Comedian Craig Shoemaker learned this the hard way when he was chosen to be the sidekick in a television show featuring basketball legend Magic Johnson. The producers let Shoemaker utter only awful scripted jokes. He felt like he was on the Titanic without a lifeboat, but couldn't bring himself to quit. The show tanked and his career suffered. Research shows that strong emotional and social skills carry 60% of the responsibility for a person's success in the workplace, overshadowing such skills as time management, motivation, vision, and communication. Employers can harness the power of EQ by teaching workers these important skills. EQ also has health benefits. If you listen to your gut and take sensible action to reduce your emotional distress, you'll also become more resilient to disease, anxiety, and depression, and you'll heal more quickly. Research also shows that teaching EQ skills to breast cancer patients enhances their recovery. Everyone tends to get emotionally smarter as they get older. Women score somewhat higher in overall emotional intelligence than men, particularly in managing relationships. Customer service workers and middle managers both score higher than other workers. Surprisingly, C-level executives rank the lowest. Among all job groups, people with a higher EQ perform better. Being outgoing or shy doesn't affect your EQ. Skills that you can work on are more important, such as realizing when you are having a strong emotional reaction, not letting your feelings get the best of you, reading other people's subtle behavioral cues, seeing their point of view, and building relationships. You can't raise your IQ, but you can raise your EQ. How can you boost your EQ? You can build stronger emotional intelligence. The key to permanent change is repetition. If you practice EQ skills regularly, irregardless of your age, they will get easier over time. To increase your EQ, don't try to improve all 4 skills at once, it will be too overwhelming. Focus on just one and identify concrete steps you can take, such as specific reminders, like remembering to listen respectfully and to let people finish speaking before you jump in and talk. Not every leader or boss has high EQ, but those who do are better able to make the most of what they've got. EQ is about achieving your potential. For example, musician Ray Charles' life changed when he finally released the grief he felt at losing his mother. He embraced his emotions and used them to fuel his musical talent, even incorporating an anguished cry into his trademark vocal style. Knowing himself and using his emotions in his work helped him achieve personal competence. Lean into the discomfort. Most people would rather not know the cold, ugly truths about themselves, but those who remain in the dark about their uncomfortable emotions aren't able to take corrective action. If this applies to you, the antidote is to turn the lights on in those dark corners and head straight into what you'd rather avoid. When you examine the bogeyman, you will find he wasn't so fearful after all. If you come face to face with your arrogance, fears, and neediness, you can better understand the defense mechanisms that undermine you. For example, perhaps you party too much to avoid the blues. Maybe you crave approval, so you are vulnerable to flattery. Perhaps your fear of rejection is causing you to stay home every night and feel lonely. Seek your discomfort zone and learn from it. If you're painfully shy, practice starting conversations and soon you'll find it surprisingly easy. Identify the shades of emotion that people express verbally and non-verbally. Which emotions do you feel most often? Joy, sadness, anger, fear, frustration, or embarrassment? To increase your self-awareness, notice the circumstances surrounding those feelings, when they tend to arise, the thoughts that accompany them, and the physical sensations you experience. If you are hiding from your feelings, modify your behavior to be more aware. Expect to make mistakes as you practice these new skills, but be confident that your EQ will improve with effort. People with high EQs learn from emotional discomfort. A big benefit of being able to manage your tendencies is that you are not diverted by momentary impulses, so you can stay focused on your greater goals. Plan how you will deal with emotionally charged situations and stick with your plan. For example, if someone cuts you off in traffic, retaliating by tailgating only increases the physical risk. If you choose to drive on without even looking at the other driver, you've managed your emotions productively and safely navigated your counterproductive impulse. It may sound childish, but having an inner dialogue that encourages positive self-management is a great strategy. Give yourself a mental pep talk, improve your emotional state of mind, and stay on an even keel. Become an anthropologist. People with poor social skills are unaware of the impression they make. Take, for example, a boss who cuts off staff members when they speak. A skilled human resources manager could survey that boss employees and provide useful, eye-opening feedback. By taking small steps to correct any communication problems, the manager could then vastly improve staff relationships and retention. Listening is a critical but often forgotten skill. To listen correctly, turn off your internal chatter, put aside distractions, remain silent, and focus on the person before you. This makes people feel respected and heard, and enhances relationships. To heighten your ability to pick up on other people's emotional states, pretend you're a scientist collecting data through observation. Notice body language, tone and volume of voice, and speed of movement. To avoid misinterpreting cues, ask clarifying questions, such as, "Does this mean you're disappointed?" When communicating, notice your feelings about the situation and other people's emotions. Try to create rapport. Getting people to listen to you is tougher when you lack a personal connection. Strife often occurs when underlying emotional issues remain unresolved. Emotions can cloud issues, so the more you develop EQ skills, the better equipped you'll be to resolve problems. For example, rather than confronting people and putting them on the defensive, calm yourself and take responsibility for your friction-provoking actions. Express interest in people. To build stronger relationships, help and encourage others. Work teams have emotional intelligence, too. People carry their emotions with them everywhere, including to work. When you face unexpected and disturbing situations, manage your reactions, but also show leadership by responding to the emotional needs of others. Avoiding conflict won't resolve it. Conflict doesn't have to be loud and angry, it can be subtle and unspoken, based on hurt feelings or resentment. If you're distracted, people can mistake your behavior for hostility. When you communicate your state of mind, by, for example, explaining why you're distracted, you are using emotional intelligence to head off problems. If you follow up with that person later when you have time, you will reinforce the relationship. Just as individuals show self-awareness, teams also exhibit their members' emotional awareness. For example, if a setback on a major project prompts frustration, members must address the problem to keep the air clear. Teams have their own emotional cultures, ranging from buttoned up to highly expressive. Each team member can help the group self-regulate and manage its emotions to increase productivity and motivation. One member may occasionally fall out of step with the others. How that person and the others remedy that kind of situation reflects a skill called internal relationship management. Good teams can forge and maintain working relationships with outside people and groups. To foster a team's emotional intelligence, build skills individually and jointly, spend time getting to know one another and become comfortable communicating productively. Members can ask each other for input, keep each other focused and offer each other support. Taking emotional intelligence home. Emotionally intelligent couples understand that maintaining their relationship will keep their partnership operating smoothly. Research demonstrates that a couple's level of disagreement is not important. What matters is the effort the pair expends to repair any conflicts. Repairing a relationship requires putting emotions aside long enough for both people to regain their composure, see the situation from the opposite perspective and find a way to bridge the gap. This can take many forms and, depending on the conflict, might require repeated attempts. Both people must be alert to their own and their partner's emotions, so they know when they can tolerate initiating a repair. People in the strongest relationships share the repair work. Strong emotional intelligence is a great asset in parenting. The skill of managing emotions instead of letting them get out of control profoundly benefits children, who need their parents' help to learn to accept and navigate their own tumultuous feelings. If you are a parent, show your child that what she thinks and feels is valid. It's toughest for a parent to model restraint and control just at those chaotic moments when it would do the most good. Incorporate emotional intelligence skill building into every aspect of your life. Select one skill, practice it, and it will spill over positively throughout your life.